Okay, we are now live. Good evening, and my name's Ronnie from Equine Voices, and welcome to tonight's interview. And we have a lovely, lovely lady that's coming on for a chat. Her name is Sam Fielding, and she is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I had to write that down so I don't forget, because she does a lot more than that. So, but that's part of her title. So what I'll do is I'll bring Sam in. She can introduce herself and just say a little bit about who she is and what she does. And then we'll just see where the conversation takes us. So this is going to be an interesting, eye-opening chat this evening. So I'll just bring her in now. Hi, Sam. Welcome.
Hello. I just remembered that it is evening for you. It's afternoon for me here.
It is. It is. It is 7:30 here in the
Mm.
UK. It's
Yep.
getting dark as well. So,
Yes.
so would you like to just explain to people that don't know you, and then well, I came across you on a Warwick Schiller's podcast, so that's how I came across you because I wasn't aware of you before, and you kindly agreed to come on and have a chat, informal chat, and tell us a little bit more about yourself. So I'm so
Yep.
excited. So off you go. The floor's yours.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, so I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine for people, for humans, because people often think I do it on the horses. But um, I've been a lifelong rider, horse lover, grew up in Maryland, and actually honestly thought that I would go into the horse world as a professional. I wanted to ride professionally, but my family did not support that in any way, shape, or form. And as life will do, my path kind of meandered and wandered a bit. I took a very long break from horses, um, and ended up moving out into the western part of the US where I was in the mountains and realized that I wasn't going to ride the way I rode in the East Coast of the US growing up, and kind of fell in love with skiing. And that took me on this completely unexpected journey. I skied professionally, was a ski patroller, but all the way through my experiences, there was always the thread of the horses and where the horses has always taken me, which is actually interesting because I came to acupuncture from one of the racehorse trainers that I worked for growing up. I had injured my shoulder and he said, "Oh, go see my acupuncturist." And at the time, it was so far outside my realm of thinking of things to utilize. I came from a family of Western physicians, so acupuncture didn't seem like a legitimate thing for me to use. But I thought, well, if Billy uses it, I'll give it a shot. And as it does when things work, I just kind of kept coming back to it. It helped the shoulder. I found that it was helping with other things. And so the seed was planted in my mind. And many years later, when I realized I could not ski professionally for the rest of my life, my body was saying, "Hey, you got to do something else." I did what I thought I was always meant to do, and that was um, go into medicine, like my family, to go and be a physician. But in the process of interviewing for medical schools, I realized I knew all along that that wasn't my path. I mean, I took a 13-year break before I even considered applying. And I remember at one point saying, if I get into acupuncture school, I'll go there. Because when I thought about it, I don't go to the Western doc. So I said, well, this doesn't feel right. I remember actually sitting in an interview looking at everybody else that was interviewing for this medical school, and it was so clear to me. It said, I don't belong here. These are not my people. And that one thought that was really clear in my mind to just go and do acupuncture, that's what you use, led me on this wild and unexpected journey. But I've always, I think, even as a kid, as a rider, had a fascination with energy. So it was a very natural fit for me to end up in acupuncture. Um, because a lot of what we talk about and work with as acupuncturists is energy in the body. So, and it's morphed quite a bit where through my practice with my patients, I realized I really wanted to help them heal, but I felt like I wasn't helping them heal as well as they could with acupuncture alone. Um, and after thinking, well, what is it that I want to be able to do for these people? I realized I have to help them change their patterns, change the behaviors, change some of the lifestyle factors that they're unknowingly or unable to change that are leading them to come to me for help. And if I can help them change that, then maybe I can really help them heal. Because I felt like a glorified Band-Aid. I mean, it worked, but I really knew these people could be doing a lot better, which led me to explore the mind and hypnosis. And the universe has quite a sense of humor, I feel, because my first fascination had nothing to do with the mind. It was strictly the physical body. I'm a lifelong athlete. I wanted to just work with athletes. And even as an intern, I will never forget this day. I literally asked another intern, "Do you want to trade patients?" I have this patient that has depression. I don't know what to do with this. What do you have? And she had a shoulder injury. I said, "I'll trade. I can fix the shoulder injury. I don't know what to do with this." And as life will do, I got my own personal experience of the effects of depression after I had my first kid. And I really became I understood in a way that you can't understand without the experience, your own personal experience of it. And it led me on a path where I realized, oh, that kind of dismissive attitude you had about the mind and mental health, it's how ironic that now that's your primary means of work. That's what as a practitioner, I find to be one of the most important elements of what I do. Um, and it really helped my patients, but then the horses never go away. All of us know that no matter what you're doing, it's not something you grow out of. If you're a horse person, you're a horse person. And that was part of my personal healing journey, was saying, you know what, I need to have horses back in my life. And it's always led me somewhere, even though I might put it down for years at a time. When I'm in a place where I don't know the answer or something feels uncertain, the horses tend to just pop back into my life to kind of guide me and steer me in the direction that I should be going. And now the work I do is specifically to help riders overcome fear, deal with performance, and really understanding how can they utilize their minds to affect their energy and their relationship with their horses. So that's what led me to the conversation with Warwick. Was I realized a lot of what I do, like Warwick is so extremely gifted at what he does. I listen to him and I think, well, that's great, Warwick, but there's people that don't know how to do what you're telling them. You can't, for him, it's so natural to connect to the horses. But I know from patients, I know from watching other riders that there's fundamentally a reason that people can't connect, even though they want to. And that's kind of become my life's work, is to help people understand, well, there's a reason energetically that you can't connect. And we were kind of talking about this a bit before we got on, that the horses kind of direct us as individuals to do this work that is much larger than our hobby. It's much bigger than this love of riding and experiencing the physical art of riding. My experience of it is that they help us heal these things as individuals, energetically, in our hearts, because that's their role in our lives. And once I really started to embrace that, the doors that opened were incredible. And I love helping people start to bridge that gap for themselves, because I think we intuitively want that. People understand that that is important, but if you can't do it energetically, it's extremely frustrating. And the thing that is really cool to see is that people can absolutely learn this. This is healing work that not only do I feel that we need, but it's very accessible for people. So that's been really an incredible journey that I never would have seen coming. So yeah, it's when you asked about speaking, I said, "Oh, absolutely. I love talking about this." People can, start to explore these things that when I talk on these podcasts, people will say, "Oh, you said something that resonated that I've always known inside, but I haven't heard it articulated." So you and I share this passion to spread this and make it so it's not this, oh, it's in the back of my mind. I might be the only one thinking this. I think a lot more of us are thinking it than we're articulating.
Absolutely. That was the thing I remembered about the podcast with Warwick. I think I don't know if it's when you went to see, was it you went to see a Tibetan, I'm just trying to think what you said. You went, is
Sorry.
that your dog? Don't worry. What's your dog called?
That one barking is Moose.
Moose. I think you went to see somebody and they did something with you and you said, "Oh, I think this was you. Please forgive me, this is not you." And you said that it's like you'd always known it. You didn't know it then, but as you knew it, you felt like you'd always known it. You knew the information. Have I got the right person? That'd be so funny if that's what you, Sam.
I don't know if that was me.
Right.
I'm trying to think of what it was that I said with work that might have been connected to that, but I don't know.
Might not have been you.
Was it in relation to any of my own personal health issues? Because I do have an
Yeah, I
experience
think
with my primary acupuncture master that I studied.
maybe, yes, that was it. Yes, I think that was it.
Yeah, he was fascinating. I think what he showed me was an ability to experience a really powerful healing that I hadn't, and I still to this day have never met a healer with his experience, his depth of understanding of the work that he kind of transmitted to me. I'm gonna just let these dogs out so they stop barking.
No, that's fine. You just go ahead. Don't worry. Things like this happen. Don't you worry. This is life and it doesn't matter. It's life. So we'll just give Sam a minute to sort the dogs out and then she can come back.
Sorry, we're back.
No, don't apologize. Listen, when you do live interviews, that's what happens. It's no big deal. Okay. Yeah, so tell us about that.
Yeah, I found him very much on a whim by accident. I was really suffering from asthma at the time. So it was interesting because that was in the very beginning of me studying acupuncture. I didn't really understand the power of alternative medicines at that point. I was still very much in the Western medicine mindset, and none of the Western medicines were helping. So I found him literally, I Googled him, which now looking back it seems miraculous to me that I actually found him, because in Boston, it's the first school of acupuncture in the US. So there's acupuncturists everywhere in Boston. So how I landed on him, I don't know. Long story short, I end up seeing him, and with one treatment, he cured me. I never had to use another inhaler or anything. And prior to that, I couldn't breathe. I was getting, part of the time, I was getting relief from the inhalers, and then I would suffer until I could take the next dose. So for me, it was it was mind-boggling, the shift to go from that state of, this very physical ailment, literally not being able to breathe, to being fine. And it took me a long time to reconcile that had actually really happened, because it just seems so far outside of my realm of understanding. And it took me a while to realize that I had to study with him, because he was teaching a very different side of healing than what I was taught even in acupuncture school. But my experience around him was he showed me, well, a bit of what we were talking about, of really just trusting and following your path. Trusting the intuition and the guidance that we all have internally to lead us to the right answer. Um, and he did it in such a way that it was really lighthearted. I think that for me was a really eye-opening experience to see that, oh, this is very powerful, but it doesn't have to be so heavy, so serious.
Mm.
He had a really good sense of humor that made me realize, well, this is the quality that I want to bring into my practice. This is the quality that I want to have in my life. Um, and it's those things now I find that guide me more. Those little pieces where it's the quality of what I want to create and how it feels to me. I think I used to underestimate the value of that. Um, but we all have the ability to make those decisions. But I think our beliefs will get in the way of us making those choices because it doesn't sound rational or doesn't seem like it would make sense. But that's one of the things that I think is really important as we do the healing work with our horses, to realize that they're asking us to feel.
Mm.
I mean, to be a good rider, you have to really understand how to feel physically with your body, but there's also a very subtle level of feeling. We were talking about that as you go through this journey of understanding, it's not like this click, all of a sudden it makes sense and it's there and you have it. It's this very gradual process of experience and unfolding. And when you stay in that experience with consistency, with literally in every moment that we have, you look back and go, wow, I'm dealing in a much subtler form of awareness, subtler form of response and sensitivity from just that practice of being in it. It's a lot like riding. I mean, in the beginning, everything's a little bit rough and clunky and coarse. But as you keep doing it, you realize, wow, these things that I used to have to put a lot of effort into kind of just happen now.
Mm.
And I think that he really showed me completely through experience. There was literally no guided instruction. He never told me exactly what to do. It was more like, be in my presence, be around me, see what it feels like, just watch. He did tell me one thing that stuck in my mind. I remember I had gone in and did something with a patient, and I came out and was washing my hands. And he specifically said, use warm water to wash your hands. And he had never given me anything that directive, very like clear, do it this way. And I remember being like, I was so stunned I didn't actually think to ask why. I just remember thinking, okay, wash your hands with warm water.
So you don't know why?
I think I understand why, because in Chinese medicine, like cold can really slow energy. It can really
Yes.
stagnate things. And as an acupuncturist, you need to feel, you need to have the sensitivity and the
Mm.
energy flowing. So if you're using cold water, you're essentially shutting down the energy in your hands.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel it is. But no, I never got the actual feedback from him. But that was his style. You kind of learn by osmosis.
So so as you were watching him and learning from that point of view, I suppose he was getting you to just watch. But when we watch, we think we just look with our eyes, but we don't. But once you start to become aware of your own senses a little bit more, you realize that with the watch, there's a feel, there's a lightness or a heaviness around
Yeah.
you. There's lots going on, but
Yeah.
we so focus on what we see.
Yeah.
So and I think that happens whether you realize it or not. And that's when you start to think, oh, okay, I noticed when you did that, I felt this.
Mm.
And so maybe that's what he was. I don't know. I'm not him, but maybe he was showing you that way, that to watch, but you was actually feeling it as well.
I think that there's a lot of, I mean, it may be a very Eastern way of teaching to have people experience and over time. There's no
Mm.
substitute for time. And I think the expectation is you do this with repetition, you do this with Um, uh, oh yes, I am on speaker. Do you want? Hold on one second.
Don't worry. Don't you just love lives? And once again, that's what happens when you're doing live interviews, but it doesn't matter. It's not a problem. Just breathe, Sam. Don't worry. So we'll just wait.
I'm borrowing an office, which is why. What were we talking about?
About being in the presence and just observing. And
Oh, right.
And,
Yeah, I do think that
yeah,
that was kind of his teaching style and methodology. I think it's more of a Eastern style of
yeah,
study. It's just the expectation is you observe and
yeah,
learn from watching for years.
yeah.
It's decades. It's not we've distilled all the meat and potato of this and given you a summary where you learn this and then you
And then you do,
integrate
yeah,
it. They just know that's impossible. So
yeah. Do you know
there's
what's just
no
coming? Sorry. What's just coming to my mind is is it from the movie Mr. Miyagi? Wash
yes,
on,
it's
wash
a
off,
bit like Mr.
wash on.
Miyagi.
Yeah.
You have no idea why you're going through the motions until you actually utilize the skill, and then it makes sense.
And then it makes sense.
Yeah. So it is learning from him was a bit like that, where it wasn't so
Mm,
clearly stated, but it was something that was very obvious when you were in his presence. He had people that they would just hang out in his office.
yeah.
And at first I didn't understand, why are these people just here? They just wanted to be around him.
Mm.
I mean, that in and of itself was healing for a lot of those people.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can give somebody a hug or just be in somebody's present, and it's not about always talking, and you feel better. And then you can walk into rooms sometimes, and you just feel this is, it feels different, so you don't hang around and you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that really was kind of the experience of being around him. But I feel like the
mm,
horses do that for us as well.
yes,
I mean,
yeah,
that's why I think a lot of people are drawn to them, is that you literally go into the presence of your horse and you become a different person. You can shift yourself energetically that quickly. And to me, it's interesting because I think at first I wasn't noticing it as clearly until I was speaking with a friend and I was having a really kind of intense conversation about something that was happening that I was upset about. And I got to my horse and she said, "Are you next to Luna right now?" I said, "Yes." Why? And she said, "Because you completely changed just about 5 seconds ago." And that was when I got to her stall. And it dawned on me that even that little level of subtlety that we aren't paying attention to it's available to us, but we don't actually think we have the ability to do that at will.
yeah,
But that experience showed me, oh, you can do that if you need to on purpose.
yeah.
And it's something that I actually really try to help my clients understand, is that you not only can you, but you should.
It's
I mean,
very
this is what the
yeah.
horses help us understand, is that it's not a matter of waiting for someone or waiting for the right moment for that to go away. It's if it's something that you need to change, you actively change it.
Mm. I remember it was I think it was last winter because it was dark, so I'd got to my horse, and I was okay. I think. Well, obviously, I wasn't totally okay, but I'd gone into the field, and it was nighttime, so I had one of these little head torches on so I could see where I was going, and I was doing a bit of poo picking as you do, and and I was calling Toots, and she was right at the bottom of the field, and I could just see her eyes in my light, and I was thinking, why doesn't she come up here? What's the matter with her? But it wasn't quite like that. And I was busy doing my stuff, and I'd got a hay, and I was putting it at the top of the field, and she wouldn't come down. I was going, Toots, I'm not putting it down there. Come and eat it up, I'll bring it up here, and she stayed down there, and I thought, okay, and I went down the bottom of the field. And I think I was obviously thinking other things, but She was like, "No, I'm not coming near you because you've got sparks coming off you." But at the time, it was like, "What's the matter with you two?" So I went, "Oh, fine, you know." And I thought, no, if she wants to stay down there, she has a choice. It's okay. So I was going down that route, and I could feel myself walking up the field, and I was thinking, "Where's this emotion coming from?" Because
Mm.
I've had quite a good day, and I could feel it coming up. And I was like, okay, that's what she's telling me, that she knows something's there. So just get rid of it. And then I just went, "Buh," and these tears came out. And I went, okay, I feel better now. And then she came up the field. So she was just telling me to offload, you
Yeah.
know, and I didn't really know what it was because I was fine before then. But something was obviously under the surface, and it could
Yes.
have been a trigger, or it could have just been, something that just need clearing. And she was pointing that out to me.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
I think that that's when I talk to people and I think there's so many people, and it's changing. I do think that the culture of equestrians and riders is shifting a lot. You know, the conversations that Warwick has, people love it because there's things that resonate with them, that we know that we do so much with our horses that they allow us. But it's very easy because they are so patient and they're so giving and they're so present for us. We think we have the right to do these things with us until you meet one horse that shows you, like, no, no, no. You think you're in control of this relationship, but let me remind you who holds the power here. And they will show you that what they have been allowing us to do is a gift. And in many ways, I believe that they are here to help us. They help us heal. Just their presence can facilitate that kind of transformation in us. And it's funny because growing up, one of the other reasons I did not pursue riding professionally was that as a teenager, I could see that the industry was really tricky. The human relationships were not the ones that I wanted to really be involved with intimately long term. I just knew it wasn't going to be. I certainly didn't have the maturity or the skills to navigate it as a teenager. And I'm grateful that I went a different path. But as I got older and I came back to horses, I realized, there's a reason we joke like horse people are crazy and we get along better with the horses than we do with people. But I think that's why we are horse people, because this is our vehicle to do this work for ourselves as people. And the more we do this work, you realize, wait, I can actually connect this meaningfully to the people in my life.
Mm.
And it's a back and forth. You cannot ride the way you want to ride. You cannot be present with your horses the way you want to if you can't be that as a human fundamentally first. And so as you start to explore that work for yourself as an individual, your world changes, because then you can take that energy, and that's where, to me, it feels like the true confidence comes from. That now when you engage with everyone in your life, your family, your loved ones, the people most important to you, it changes that whole dynamic. And you realize, no, I actually really love people. I really love and can connect with them in a way that I can with these amazing furry animals.
Yes.
And to me, that's why we ride. That's what the horses are here for. It's not for our sheer enjoyment. I mean, obviously we love it and enjoy it, but it's the connection to me that is the meaningful part. And what I love to be able to help people do is to connect the dots and say, oh, that's why riding feels so amazing. Yes, it's not just in your riding where you can feel that and experience it. You can have that level of connection in your life, and it does not need to be in the context of simply riding your horse. So when people can start to embrace that and understand that, your world opens. People start to really live again, find their meaning and their purpose as humans. The irony is that it comes from the horses for many, many of us. And I used to think, is that, that how strange, but there's so many different ways that we, learn as people.
Mm.
I think it's a really amazing blessing to have, because horses are just really incredible creatures.
Absolutely. And I mean, not all horses, there's a lot of horse therapists or therapies that you can go, and a lot of that can be just hanging out with a horse, and that is one of my favorite things. And that's what I normally say to people. If I had to tell you to do one thing, it was just go sit with your horse or be with your horse and do nothing and just be there. And I love doing that. But it's funny when you was talking about, you can have that with humans, and I was thinking, yeah, but I wouldn't sit in a person's bedroom cross-legged, while they're snoozing, because they might wake up and think, what's that weirdo doing in my bedroom? Because I quite often do that. I mean, the horses. So I've always been a one horse person, because that's that's what I've had. And recently I've acquired another one to keep mine company, and it's a wonderful dynamics, and it's exactly what I asked the universe that I needed, and it had to work for both of them, not just for my horse. It had to be right for both of them, because one's not going to suffer for somebody else, sort of thing. Not that she would have done. And it's been more than I would have possibly imagined, and that was all following my intuition, following my guidance, and trusting when nothing was in place. There was nothing in place. There was no money. There was nothing in place.
Right.
But yet, it all happened, so when she arrived, of course, I was thinking, I hope it will be okay. But it was more than I could have imagined. If I wrote down what I wanted, there's things that I've been given that I wouldn't have even thought about more. And so when they go off for snooze, I'll go sit with them. If I'm around, I'll sit. And I quite often do that. And it's those moments, I think, that horses that we would do because it seems okay, whereas you maybe wouldn't do it with a human. But it's those moments when you just go in, you can hear them breathing, and you can hear them sighing, and then you do the same, and you close your eyes, and it's just lovely. And the more you do it, and it doesn't matter what's going on outside. It doesn't have to be quiet. I can do this middle of winter when it's blowing a hoonie outside. I can still do that. If there's people chattering, it doesn't matter. I'm aware of it, but I can just go back and focus on me. And it's lovely, and that is my grounding, but that is my healing, and that is my enlightenment. That is my connection. But we can all do that, whether we have horses or not. But I think the horses give you permission not to look a wally and just go do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that everything that gives you the experience, the entry point, the permission, whatever it is really, it's all fine. It's all perfectly good. It's as it should be. And whether you're doing that with your horse, you can bridge that, and it wouldn't have to necessarily be with another person. That would be like a much higher level, perhaps, but you can start by just doing it by yourself, which I think a lot of people would never consider. Can I sit and just be with myself, and what will come up? And the reality is, for each of us, there's a reason that we can't go there. And that's the work that needs to be done, is to uncover the pieces that are keeping us from accessing those moments, and even accessing some of the intuition that you were saying. It's none of the pieces are in place, but really that's life. And when you start to embrace the fact that you just take the step and then the pieces come, you don't wait till the pieces line up before you move. It just doesn't work that way. But a lot of us live that way.
Yeah, because that's how we've been brought up. And we have to see. If we don't see it, then it's not there, sort of thing. Philosophy.
Yeah. Well, and there's just that enormous level of uncertainty. But I think that anytime you can start to move that direction, and just, it's an incredible amount of faith and trust, and that ability to be open to that is what actually brings the energy in. And that's something that we have to do, is that, energy it's a physical thing. It's physics. And when your energy matches the energy of what you want to create, then it comes. But if we're waiting with this passive energy that's blocking and expecting everything to line up, that isn't the energy of creation. So that's why people start to feel depressed. That's why people start to get stagnated and things don't happen in their lives. So a lot of the work I do, which is why I think so many people end up with issues with riding or competition, because it's very much based in fear. And it's a very similar pattern to the fear that we might have to take a big step in our lives. So when you can start to actually address that at the root level, then people really transform their lives. It's fun to see, but it's also really, when I look at it, it's like, well, that's why we're here. That's the whole point of this crazy game.
Absolutely. So if somebody, okay, so give me an example. So does somebody come and see you in person, or do they give you a call? And do they need to tell you, I'll tell you what, you explain what happens when you have a client, a prospective client.
Yeah, so basically what happens is people will they'll go on my website. There's a place where people will book a call with me, and they'll often I have a little bit of an intake where I ask questions to pinpoint, like, what is the issue? Is this something that I feel like I can help them? And I have a conversation with them initially to see, is this something that, one, the person is ready to address? Do I feel like I can help them with particular issue? But the timing is really important. The level of commitment and willingness to do the work, I think, is the main thing that I look for. Because some people come in with an idea that they want to ride better, but they're not really getting a sense of the deeper work. And for me, then they're not quite there, and there's more work to be done on their own. But when I talk to clients and say, hey, I heard something you said, this is what I want to achieve, and I can show them, well, here are some really clear reasons why you aren't actually creating that in your life. That's why this doesn't happen. Do you want to learn how to heal this? And that healing work it's not this simple quick fix, right? You open the door to the healing process. And so I do hypnosis with clients to help uncover some of the root issues that we can begin the process of healing. And then beyond that, I mean, and that's actually an enormous shift that they feel. Most people feel so good after that hypnosis session. They really truly feel like, okay, this is it, I'm healed. But what happens, the nature of our minds, just being a human, is that if you aren't actively engaging in creating a new pattern, the pattern will come back around. Your mind will act, it wants to go back to the old way. It's more comfortable with what you've been doing for years and years and years, and it will try to suck you back in. So if you're not actively working on installing new patterns of behavior, creating practices and living your life in a way that is leading you towards being the main energy driving your life forward, allowing the intuition, allowing your life's purpose and journey to unfold, you will end up back where you are. So clients, I have courses that basically created because I was saying a lot of the same things. What I was seeing was a very predictable pattern of behavior and concepts that would come up that people really needed to process and integrate over time. We were talking about this earlier. There's no substitute for the time. So I support these clients over time, because what I want them to realize is that these transformations are real, they are sustainable, and it's a matter of going through enough repetitions of understanding this game that we're playing to have the confidence, to have the trust. And a bit like I was saying about my mentor, he didn't give me specific directives, but being in his presence made it very clear to me what the right energy felt like.
Mm.
So once people go through the process of finding that for themselves, you don't feel the need to rely on other people. You don't look for the answers outside. You start to trust and think, okay, this is all meant for me. There's nothing here that could possibly go wrong, regardless of how this plays out. I mean, I can say that intellectually, and I know for myself, there's still many, many levels of actually integrating that into my actual actions and being. But I do have a very strong belief that that is the case, that we are infinite. Our lives don't stop with this physical life. For myself, I know many people share that understanding. And the more I do this work with people, the more I hear their experiences, the more I believe that to be the truth.
Mm.
And it's in being able to let go of some of the beliefs, I think, that constrain us, that actually they sound terrifying to consider. Talking about death, talking about the end of life, talking about the loss of loved ones and experiences, going through any tragedies.
Mm.
These sound like things you would never want to touch. But when you actually, it's like turning on the light in the closet, the thing that you thought was so scary, when you shine the light on it, you realize, well, this is actually not that bad. And in fact, it's quite liberating to start to reconcile and make friends with this, because then you can start to actually just have this level of curiosity about your life and seeing what unfolds. Um, and so getting back to like what happens when I work with clients is I support my clients through the initial healing. I really feel like, and they have said this to me, that my gift is being able to hear them and say, this is the thing you need to look at. So when I can help them see it and identify it for themselves, then they can begin to work with it, because the real healing has to be done by the individuals. I can
Mm.
only guide and direct them and support them. But I hope that over time, I've worked with many people and seen this happen. That gives people the confidence to say, okay, let me do this. Let me try. And then really the biggest thing I do along the way is I can reflect for them where they are. I can really guide them and support them to say, keep going. This is it. And you're going to be fine. I think more than anything, now as I do this work, I work with people all over the world. I work remotely. The hypnosis is all virtual, but I do have clients that I work with locally. And we've done some really cool experiences where I want to show them that the things that we love to do are not isolated to our riding. So we've engaged in some of these really fun adventures. Um, because for me, I love it. I love to travel. I love to put myself in a different context and experience. I feel like it shakes things up and allows you to really see that, hey, I was really stuck in one way of seeing things, but there's so many other possibilities. And that shift in experience allows you to feel where you were versus where you are. So I'm really excited because I'm going to start doing more of these events with people, because they're just fun. They're really just fun places to bring people together, to experience different cultures, to do horse things, but also have the environment to have these conversations, to explore some of these concepts and do a little bit of work to open the door. Um, and I think that, when you change the context, it you don't have such rigid definitions of what you should be doing or how things should be. And it helps you understand, like, wait, this unknown, taking the step into the I don't know what, is actually pretty fun. It's actually a really comfortable place to be.
So is it like when you're doing these, is it like a clinic? So would it be with the horse, or would it be just with them?
No, so, um, they're going to be more with horses. So
Mm.
actually, like, multi-day experiences with horses is what I find to be the most powerful. And it's not so structured like a clinic. It's more about being like a bit like the environment that my teacher, Tom Tam, created. Just
Yeah.
just be in this experience. Be with a group of people that are really just experiencing, being present, watching, observing, living. And when you start to feel that shift, you realize, wait, why do I not have these elements in my life, in my day-to-day life? We were talking about that before, where
Mm.
it's not a compartmentalization of saying, I do this here, and then when I'm done this experience, I go back. You start to say, well, I'm going to bring these things with me. I want to carry this over. And that's, I think, where a lot of the powerful shifts happen, is that we start to feel the continuity of what we're doing.
Mm.
You don't check
Yeah.
out energetically when it's not working because it's all working.
It's so, it's quite funny. I quite often laugh at myself, or I can hear myself, 'cause, um, when so now I like I said to you, every second, I don't think, "Oh, what am I thinking now? What am I thinking now? What am I thinking
Mm.
now?" But every second, every moment, everything I'm doing, I'm checking in. Okay, well, how do I feel? How am I feeling about this? And then you start doing something sometimes, and you can feel yourself going down the old bit of a pattern, and you're having a conversation, and you just, and then somebody might say something to you, and normally you'd go, "Yeah, I know, I understand that." Even if you think, "Well, actually, I don't agree with you, but I'm agreeing with you for that
Yeah.
sake." Whereas now I listen, and sometimes you fall into it, but I pull myself back and think, "No, actually, that's not my belief." That's Are you okay?
Yes, they're
Yeah.
looking for other dogs.
Um, and so I pull back, and I just listen, but I don't add to it. And it's like, we've all got stories, we've all got things that's happened to us in our life, and some have got some, really not nice things at all that's happened to them. Um, but even going back and looking at things, I don't even want to go there. And it's not I don't want to go there. If it comes up, that's fine, but I don't want to keep going back and telling the same old scripts, because
Yeah,
actually that's not me anymore. This
yeah,
is me today. I
yeah,
might be somebody else tomorrow, but this is me today, right this second. And I'm very much in that mode. And then maybe something big happens, and you think, I should be feeling, oh crikey, I shouldn't be feeling this way, because that's not how people behave. Um, you should have compassion, you should have this feeling. And I do, but I don't linger that energy there. I don't pull myself into it, because it's happening, but it's not happening to me. I can
yeah,
have empathy, but I don't need to add to it. And sometimes that is because it's not normal or what we're used to. You almost have to talk to yourself, and that's how I deal with it. So I'm working through this the whole time. I
yeah.
haven't got it right, but it's a better place than it is than I would have been if I'd followed the old pattern. I
Yes,
wouldn't. I don't want to go back there,
100%.
and I'm
And I
not
think
going back
that's
there.
one of the things that I talk about with people is, "Hey, you're gonna have to do work one way or the other. Why
Mm,
wouldn't you do the work that's leading you to a better
better
future?"
place.
It's
Yeah.
not like anyone gets a pass and not doing something actually creates something better. No,
Mm.
it doesn't. Um, but I think really what happens is people don't really know. They don't know. But what we were saying earlier is I actually think everyone knows. We just have to rediscover all of the stuff that's inside that guides us.
Yeah.
When you take away the fluff, when you take away the things that we have created energetically to protect ourselves, then you become open, you receive the information in a much clearer way that you can actually act upon. And that's
Mm.
really at the core of what I help my clients do is understand like, hey, there's a reason that you can't connect in that way. And what you're describing to me is just that's the process of being human. It's a bit like we want that aha moment where it all just gets downloaded and it's instantly firing as it should be. But that's actually never the experience. The experience is always what you're describing of noticing and saying, "Hey, I think I should be doing this thing, but I'm clearly not doing this thing." But every time we come to that realization, we're shifting closer.
Mm.
And so we just like we were saying before, you just keep down the path. You walk, you understand and commit to saying, "Hey, I do want to do this a way that makes sense. So it's leading me towards a greater place. Let me create some patterns. Let me understand what do I need to do every day to help myself in a positive way." You put those into place, and that's a lot of what I teach my clients is how do we do these things? And then you'll just allow yourself you have to give yourself the grace to realize like I am doing it. It just because it doesn't instantly feel amazing doesn't mean that you're not doing it. And I think that's one of the real benefits of working with a mentor or working with a coach is to be able to trust, like, hey, it's not going to be perfect today, but I am on the right path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like you said, if people don't know or not aware that that's what can happen and they can change and they can do that, or how it feels as well, because that can be quite scary.
Mm.
To be vulnerable can be a scary place depending on your life experiences. Um, and it's just taking that first step. But the universal energy, or whatever you want to call it, will not expect you to jump from A to Z
No.
without some bits before there.
Yeah.
It will The energy guides you, and it will just, it will just gently encourage you. And it's just it's it's finding out about those little steps. And some of it's through um experiences that happen to you that you don't want in your life. So again, I don't,
100%. Yeah.
it's like, well, actually I don't want that anymore. I mean, my actually, it probably happened before then, but my light bulb moment was I was um, I was going through a divorce. So and on before when I got married to this person, I mean, it was, he was a lovely guy at the time, and he taught me a lot. But I remember saying on my wedding day, I don't want to get married. The day, it was the morning or the night before, and my friend said, "Oh, it's just nerves." I went, "No, I we lived together, but I don't want to get married. I don't want to marry him." Anyway, I married him. And it was funny, but in the register office, he was so pleased that we'd got married, but his attention had totally left me. He was looking everywhere else. He
Mm.
wasn't looking at me as if his future bride, his new bride. Nobody else saw that, but I saw that.
Yeah.
Or did I see that in another way? Because that stuck with me. And we had some good times, but it didn't last. He was quite a possessive, jealous person, and I'm such a tactile person. I'll speak to anybody that I found myself just going really within and
Mm.
trying to keep the peace, but not to that point, because I am a bit of a fighter. And in the end, we parted ways. But what he did to me was one of the best things. He went off with a friend. And that was the best thing in my life that happened, because that pushed me to
Mhm.
see that there's a pattern in my life, and I know there's a pattern, and I don't want to follow this pattern.
Yep.
And then it was almost like this euphoric head in the cloud, and I was walking somewhere, and it was it if there was angels playing harps, that's what it would have felt like, because I thought, I've got it. I've got it.
Yeah.
Instead of looking external and blaming others for things, I have to look at me, because I attracted this for whatever reason. And
Yes.
I have to start and that was years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
years ago. So that was the moment and the energy gave me the reward, because it was so calm. It was so, I can't describe it. It was such a beautiful place. Um, People would say, "Oh, you was with an angel." I was in my energy, and it says, yeah, "Welcome home. This is the true
Yes.
you."
100%. Welcome home is such a good way of describing that. Because to
Yeah.
me, what you're describing is alignment. So when you're energetically aligned, you had listened to your intuition, you're following your path and accepting that that was there for a reason. That is the feeling of, that is that lightness of feeling, that, the harps and angel feeling, because
Mm.
that is when we are in that sweet spot of being energetically aligned. That's really a lot. It's a super important part of what I help my clients discover, because it never goes away. Your natural path, your energy, what was meant for you never gets changed by your experiences. But you could be so far off from alignment until you have something that literally, like you said, it's not anything you would ever ask for, but there's no grasping. So in some ways, the things you don't want are what actually bring you right back into alignment, because you are so you literally are not trying to hold on to the experience. Um, And that is what allows you to realign to the energy that's right for you.
Mm.
And then to me, it's a bit like following the crumbs from there. So once you realign and understand what that feels like for yourself, that's where you go. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to make sense. The pieces don't all have to line up, but you start using your intuition to guide you into these incredible experiences that become your life's journey. And um, for me, it's just, it, there is no other way, we otherwise we experience that, or we kind of become stuck. And as you say, you start to get into that mindset of, or that mentality of what, you kind of, you're a little bit disconnected. You're a shade off of responding to the experience, responding to people in that kind of automatic, responsive, like, this is the appropriate way to speak. I should be saying this to this person, rather than really being engaged. Because when you're not living the life that you're meant to live, you're like, this is not very interesting. I don't really want to have this conversation, but I guess I have to. But we don't. That's the thing that I want to shout from the rooftops is, no, we should all actually really love and enjoy the vast majority of our life. And there
Mm.
is a way to actually have enormous gratitude for all of it. All of the stuff, the good, the bad, the things we want, the things we don't want. I mean, that's really the human experience that we are meant to have. And the horses, for many of us, open the door to starting to walk down that path.
Yes. Yeah. And you can be whatever you like. You can be just you, and it doesn't matter what you look like or how much money you earn. They generally see what's in your heart, and because they have the biggest hearts, and they just connect to you and allow you to feel. I mean, it's documented, it's well known, people that work with horses and prisoners or disability or anything like that, they connect. You get a big guy and he can break down in tears. It's like, I have no idea why I'm crying. And it's almost like there's something resonating and it's just connecting,
That's
and
absolutely
it's
what it
allowing
is.
that flow to go through.
Yeah.
It's just allowing it. A doorway's opened. And just happen to be these magnificent, beautiful creatures.
Yeah.
And they are, I mean, all animals have, as well as people, but we are animals, but we have walls, barriers, we have opinions,
100%.
we have beliefs, we have what we think external people that rule our lives. We have things that we need to do, but that is not the whole thing, and that is just what we see, not what we feel. And for anybody seeing my life, I'm in the same home that I've been in for years. um, this doesn't look to be a lot that's changed
Mm.
externally, but I am not the same person, and I would, I would, um, I would find it hard to voice myself. And if somebody was speaking to me and I thought they knew what they were talking about, I would sort of just listen and agree. And I don't anymore. I listen, and that's their view, but it's not mine. And
Mm.
it's not that I'm right and they're wrong. It's I'm where I am today, and this
Yeah.
feels such a better place and a true place for me than I was even 6 months ago. So I'm staying here, and you can follow positive thinking. You can say so this is not about being spiritual or about being religious or about being, English, African, Asian. This is about being a being with
Mm.
a life force that flows through every single thing,
Mhm.
everything, through our cells, through everything. And you connect into that. And that is the bit that feels so, and as I'm talking about, I feel the power within that. And it's not power as I want to do something, it's power within my own destiny, my own life. And we all have that. We all have it. And
Mhm.
we just need somebody to just guide us, like yourself, I mean, Warwick's just chatting. He's bringing so many people into the fold that that probably wouldn't listen to. You know, horse people may not have listened to them.
Yeah.
Um, and then you get a little feeling that you want to learn more, and you get
Yeah.
a thirst and a hunger, and
Yep.
you can either read books. I mean, I laughed at you when you said about Googling acupuncture. Um, I can be using Google and it's the internet and we're doing this now, but I know if the energy wants me to find something or my energy wants me to see something, it will put it on Facebook because it knows that's what I'm looking at. It will
Yeah.
put it on YouTube.
Yep.
It will use the platform that my vision, that my energy is focused on. And that's where the information comes from. So it will find a way, it will find the quickest, easiest way to get to you, just like
Yeah.
lightning does when it strikes.
It's true. And I think that once you start to actually see that in action, then the game becomes, I want to be open and available to hear those messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got some people watching us, which is lovely. So, and I know they put a message up early. So Paddy Hensey says hello from Long
Oh, from Long
Island.
Island.
So is that near
It's
you?
not too far. It's a few
Yeah.
hours. Not, I'm like maybe 3.5 hours from me. Yeah.
Ah, okay. And then we've got Jane Cami saying hi, and she's from California.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. Hi, Jane. Thank you for your comments. That's really nice. It's lovely to have people listening to these.
Mm.
And like I said to you, it doesn't matter about the dog interrupting because this will be a podcast and people can listen. But it's live, and it does. You know, it doesn't
Life at the
matter.
bar. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
You know, that's fine. But it's nice that people listen. And if
Yes.
anybody wants to ask Sam a question, by the way, while we're on here, please feel free to do so. And we'll put that on. And if she can answer it, then she will do. But we'll carry on talking while you think about that. So am I all right to share this thing with you that I sent you a
Oh,
message?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think it was a few days ago. I was driving home. I'd been to work and I'd been seeing my horses, and I was driving home. And I got Sam in my head. So when I'm doing animal communication, this is the same comes the same way. And I had Sam in my head, and I thought, oh, okay. And I don't know what the words are, and I don't know what the message is until I start to record it. And this is what I'm saying about taking a leap of faith and trusting. So
Mm.
there's a feeling that I have to pass something on to you, and I don't know whether this means anything to you or it's relevant, but I do that. I pass that on. So I started to record a little message to Sam saying what I was picking up for her, and that I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's absolutely fine. But I have to pass this on. So I passed the message on. And what did you say back when you listened to it?
I just said, "Oh, I love it," because when I heard your message, I thought, "Oh, okay." It was a bit like what I just said. I want to hear the messages. I would love to receive it in any way possible. And so when you sent that to me, it clear to me, okay, good. I have been asking a question a bit. Is it time? Is this something that feels right to me to do to move forward in the work I do with my clients? Because it's just I want my work to be fun. I love working with my clients. I love being in these adventures with people. And when you said that, to me, what was right was, okay, just share where you are. Whatever is unfolding is meant to be, and the kind of the adventures unfolding in terms of these different equestrian global adventures retreats was really at the front of mind. And I thought, yeah, I should share that because I know the fun that my clients and I have had, and I know that people want to take these life experiences, um, but also to have something come of it, like to feel like that moved the needle. So when you said that, I was like, yes, this is a good reminder that these are all meaningful things that, and in some ways, a reminder to me as an individual, just share. Don't be
Yeah,
so worried about the outcome. the outcome doesn't matter. You can talk about that. I think sometimes we have a reservation to actually put things out there for whatever reason. So having you send that was a really nice, like, it's, you got this, just do the thing. And
Yeah.
um, I know that it's meaningful because those are the things in my life that have led me to the most amazing experiences. When people hear my life story, they're like, how did you do this and then do that? None of it was scripted. It was very much following those types of messages.
Mm.
So when you sent that, I thought, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Because I want more and more to talk to people about the things that are far outside of our senses that we think we understand and perceive. I mean, let's be honest, if you like riding horses, there's a bit of you that loves magic. There's a bit of you that loves this, like, we're sitting on the back of 1,000+ pound animals, communicating to them through pressure on their body. I mean, if you don't think that's magic in and of itself, I don't know what you think it is.
Mm.
But I think that we it's not, you were saying, like, in the conversations you have with people, like, oh, you're supposed to say this or you're supposed to do that. It's not normal for adults to be like, oh, I love magic. I want the world to be magic. It actually is much more magical than conventional reality, the normal world wants people to accept. But for me, it's like life is too short. I want to embrace that. I want to appreciate, and I run full steam towards it, because if it's not fun and joyous, I know that for me, I'm not on the right path.
Yes.
More and more, I'm trying to embrace that energy. And I have young kids, so it really helps allow me to go there. But for a long time, I wouldn't. I
Mm.
wouldn't. And that was my energetic block. So they have helped me with my blocks, but it's also the universe helps us see. It will always, always answer us when we ask.
Mm.
I mean, your message literally came the same day that I was asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So if
think
that's
that's how it
not
works. That's
proof, right?
yeah. It tends to be somebody, yeah, it tends to work that way. It tends
Yeah.
to work that and I mean I don't have a problem talking to strangers. In fact, it's easier to talk to strangers than people, sometimes. Not so much now, but there was a time, and because they don't know anything about you, and I used to have a bit of a mask on, and we've all got to a certain
Yeah.
degree, but I try and be more me. This is
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
mean, I get nervous, and my friends call me scatty because when I'm talking my normal stuff, I'm so forgetful. I don't have a photographic memory. So, but yeah, I can remember the essence and the feel of energy when I'm doing a communication. So if
Yeah.
somebody contacts me, I remember the essence of that
Yep.
because it's in that form. Um, but I wouldn't change. I would not go back, and I don't think you can actually. Once
I don't
you
think you
once you learn something, you can't unlearn it.
can. I don't think you can unlearn it, but that's,
No.
I think for some people it's a little bit terrifying, but it's not. It's not meant to be terrifying. It's part of the journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and our minds are very, our bodies and our minds are protecting us, and they keep us safe. But it can also have its own little story, and it keeps us
Mm.
there because what is it? The better the devil you know, than the devil you don't, sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so I mean, there's a lady called I think it's Jane Pike. Have you heard of Jane Pike?
Yes.
Yeah, and she's how she describes things, because she talks about the body and the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and I find that fascinating too. But I also have a friend that does NLP. She does lots of different things. She's like you. She has a title, but she does lots of things. She happens to be an animal communicator, and she's in touch with her own energy as well. And she used me as a guinea pig when I had a thing of not getting on my horse. And I always knew it was nothing to do with horses. The block was nothing to do with horses,
Yeah.
but that's how it manifested. And that was to keep me safe.
Mm.
There was more to it than that. It was from parents as well, because you take on their energy.
Yeah.
And so when we finally got over that, and I went out to put my bareback pad on my horse, and she'd come up, I'd do a bit of clicker play with her. She'd come up, and I put the pad on. Normally, my legs would have been like jelly, and there was no energy. I'd just be like, I just couldn't do it. But my brain was thinking, well, I should be feeling nervous by now. So why?
Yes.
So
Isn't
and so you're having this conversation. I'm like, but I'm not. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's no butterflies. There's no boulders. I can do this. So I did get on my horse, and that was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is just sitting on my horse is like winning the lottery. It's
Yeah.
so lovely.
Yeah.
And then the next thing was to progress, was to take some steps forward. And I think it was maybe, I was doing this for a few days, and I think it was maybe a week later, I was thinking, oh, I don't think I can do this. Oh, just take the bareback pad out and go sit on your horse. So I went out, sat on my horse, and then it was like, should we take a few steps? And her little ears were like, chuk, 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 chuk. And then I goes, come on, Toot. So we walked, and I went, I'm doing it. But yet I just before then, the old pattern was saying,
Yes.
no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But if I'd listened to that and not followed through, that might have been where it would have set back a bit. I don't know, because
Yeah.
I didn't do that, and
100%.
I'm not there, but
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of what I, when people get things that are inspiring and feel like, oh, I want to do this, there's still a gap for many people of like, well, then how do I actually execute this? And for me, that's a lot of the work that I do is, let me show you how. Let me show you how to identify what's the true thinking, what's the reality of the situation versus your pattern, your fear, the other thing speaking. Because in order for you to make the right choice, you have to be able to hear, but you also have to be able to perceive clearly. And that in the moment can be really hard for people to discern. But once you understand, how are you going to discern fear from reality, fear from what's happening, then you can actually make the choice. And like you're describing perfectly, that is the experience of it. People want it to be like this, oh, it just goes away. No, sometimes the voice is in there trying its best to convince you, but what you feel in your body is saying, no, that's not actually a problem. And then you can start to allow yourself to go through the process of reintegrating what is your reality. But the cool part is that we get to actually decide what our reality is. And so many people don't know that.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think that the truth is that we, like you were saying, the beliefs or the, oh, I don't think I should do that today. I don't think I can do this. Just that is enough to paralyze people from taking action. But if you have the courage to say, well, let me see what happens when I do this, is that actually the truth of the situation? You step through this invisible threshold and realize that, oh, this is actually not anything. The worst thing was being stuck in the fear. So once you become friends with that and understand how to walk through that threshold, you start to realize, well, I'm going to walk through the threshold and I'm going to get myself out of that place prior to doing the scary thing that is actually the worst part of it.
Yeah.
And when you start to embrace that, then you get to pick the path. You get to decide what is going to be your reality by taking those steps, by taking action, rather than waiting for something to change. Things will spontaneously come to us. The world, the universe gives you what is meant for you, but it's not a passive receiving on the couch waiting for things to happen. You actually have to move. And in the movement of your energy, the things arrive. So once you can start to reconcile that sense of uncertainty or fear, then you can actually take action. And to me, any action is better than being passive. So taking any step, it might not be the right one. It doesn't matter. You course correct, you balance check, you do whatever you have to find that spot. Like balance doesn't come from being static. You have to move. And once people start to embrace that, then everything changes because you overcome many, many fears, many, many reservations that you might have. So it your future, your life becomes yours to design. And that's, I mean, I know that sounds a little bit counter to what I was saying about like your path, your journey, your destiny is kind of established. You're just following it, but it, you can't even find the alignment that you're talking about if you're not willing to just start to find that destiny, that path.
Hmm. Well, you can, I suppose, if people believe that they have a purpose and they have something that they're here to do, that's that's great. But you can change the scenery, so it can be this view and do the same thing, or it can be this view and choose a view that feels comfortable and that you enjoy and that makes you feel that you're part of it. You're not just going through the motions.
Well, certainly the actual being engaged and being a part of it, but it isn't even from changing the scenery. It's more from being in a different energetic state internally, from
Yeah.
being in the mindset that allows you to, you could be in a terrible situation on the exterior, but when you find that alignment, those tragedies or those terrible experiences are not crushing. They're intense. There's an energy to them, there's emotion to it, but it will not paralyze you as a person, rendering you helpless. It usually actually energizes, it inspires, and it makes you feel more whole, which at the end of the day is what most people want.
Yes.
We don't really care what the context is. We all want to feel whole. We all want to feel connected. We all want to feel we have some ownership and power. What people misinterpret and misconstrue is that it must come in a certain form. It's only going to feel that way when it's positive, but that is not true. It's the alignment that brings us that sensation. So finding the alignment is much more important than crafting the exterior.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I think, when I say that your life is yours to create, that's where the fulfillment of that comes. Is it's not in, let me create my destiny because this is my path. Your path is your path, but your ability to kind of flow with it, that is yours to create.
Hmm.
And that's where people can find the freedom. And I know that as I say this, for some people it sounds right, but then the next step is going to be, well, how do I do that? And that is the journey, that is the work. And it's something that we can all do, but for myself and for the clients that my path crosses with,
Excuse me.
it's a really fun journey for me to be able to reflect to them. It's just like having a great trainer on the ground that you ride with. You can figure a lot of that stuff out, but you're going to do it a lot faster with a lot less struggle and hardship when someone is saying, hey, this piece, do this.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's what so when I was talking about the view, I didn't mean change the actual place view. That's what I was trying to articulate, but you did it far better than me. Is it comes from here, so you can
Yeah,
see the same thing, but
right.
you see it that way, or you see it from here, which is slightly different, and it has a different feel to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so, have you got anything coming up that you'd like to chat about? Is there anything in the pipeline apart from obviously getting everybody together to do these adventures?
Well, so the adventures are on the docket in the next year. I think it's finally people are comfortable to travel and get together. So those are going to be coming up. And I'm definitely going to be sharing more about that in my on my website and also through social media on the different channels. But I also have heard I have so many people that are interested in doing this work with me, and I wanted to create something that was much more accessible for people. I think that because of what I do is it is deeper than just a riding issue. I wanted to create something that made a very easy step into saying, well, let me just get a taste. Let me see, is this something that really makes sense to me and fits for me? So I am actually creating a little mini course that can help people kind of take the first steps to experience a little bit of what I'm talking about, to see like, okay, is this something that I pursue further either with Dr. Sam or by myself. And so that is, I'm really excited. That's coming very soon. It's pretty close to being made, and I will certainly be sharing that when that becomes available.
So will that be online? Like an online course?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So it will all be something that people can access and work through on their own time.
Which is brilliant. And then people can have a bit more understanding of where you're coming from and
Yeah.
how it can. So they don't have to be horse related to that. They don't have to have horses. This is on a personal as well.
Well, it's certainly all work that you wouldn't have to be a rider to experience this, but this course is really going to be geared around um, a lot of the concepts that I talk about just make so much more sense when I can talk about the parallels in the riding. So
Yeah.
this course actually is very specific for riders.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, but as we were saying before, that's a bit like that's the entry point, but it goes beyond, it goes far beyond. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we haven't got any more questions at the minute, so I'm just going to give you guys a chance again. If you want to ask Sam any questions or myself, just send us a quick message and we'll have a little chat a little bit longer. But if there's no more questions, we've been on in about an hour and 20, and I'm conscious it's your daytime and you're a very busy lady. Is there anything you'd like to add while we're just waiting?
I think that the main thing that I would add and share for anyone listening is that if there is something that resonates, that is really important to trust. That initial, like, wait a minute, it's a little bit like what I kind of consider like it's almost like hearing a little scratch on the record where the kind of thing that you're just traveling along, all of a sudden you get this eye-opening, that feels different, to follow those little nudges. So whether it's in something I said in pursuing the mini course or trying to explore some of the things with Warwick or any of these pieces, that it's really important to trust that nudge, that will lead you to something meaningful. And I understand that it's hard to do without the help, which is why I do what I do. But if you can, to overcome some of those reservations or things that might be telling you, no, this is, that's not it. I think it's more important to question that and pursue it because if you're looking for a change, those are the places that the change comes from. It's never going to feel seamless at the beginning. There's always going to be friction, but that friction is what's guiding you to your freedom.
That's perfect. It's perfect, Sam. And it's an ongoing thing. I mean, I think you touched on it earlier where you said you have all this knowledge and your belief is so strong that it's so much more than what you can sort of say at the moment. But you're still having to, and the human part, you're having to work with that.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I feel and a lot of people feel that you know something, but you're not sure how to get there, or you're working through it, but each section you get or each little bit more of information makes it clearer.
Yeah.
I describe it sometimes to myself, not to people, that I was talking about a lady that I've been listening to you earlier, and lots of people say a similar thing, but somebody else might have one more ingredient or one more tweak on that. You think, okay, I was always doing that. So now that makes sense why that doesn't work. I.e. positive thinking. You can be as positive if you like, but if you're not feeling the feeling that you need to feel that goes with that, it's just positive thinking. It's lovely, but it's positive thinking. It's like making a cake. If you miss some of the ingredients, you might have a cake, but it won't taste that sweet taste when you have that extra ingredient. And that's what it's about. It's about listening, feeling what comes along, synchronicities, conversations with a stranger. It doesn't have to be related to whatever you're thinking about, but there might be something in there, and it can be just their energy that they're carrying that's vibrating, and it's a key to your vibration. And
Yes.
something changes or something moves through your body. And again, you don't have to know what it is, but it's just, and it's lovely because you play around with it. And yeah, it's just such a magical thing being you, or getting to know who you are.
Mm.
And it's not what you thought you were. And as I'm saying that, I can feel my heart welling up, because it's almost like my heart is in appreciation, which sounds very cliche and a bit wishy-washy, but it's an appreciation of what I am saying,
Mm.
because that's what it's about. It's about learning to like who you are, to love who you are, because that is you, and just to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Start somewhere, however small.
Yeah.
And that's the first step that you have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Yes.
somebody's on, but I think they must be on the Facebook group, because I don't know who it is. Howdy from Wyoming just got on. Oh, bless you. I don't know who this is. I haven't got a name with Facebook. I know if you're coming through the closed groups, you have to give permission to show your face. But thank you for stopping on by. If you can let us know who you are, it'd be lovely. Wyoming. Yeah, so it's about having fun, and not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to be silly, or seem that.
Mm.
And that's a hard thing. If you've been somebody that people have laughed at you or demoralized you or whatever, or you feel that about yourself, that's a hard place, because it's that fear. But you don't have to do the leap. You just take a small bit, and if you feel that feels better, that's what you're looking for, and you're working with that.
Yeah.
Just that small step.
Mm.
Right. I think we're going to call it a night, because you call it a day where you are. It's been so lovely chatting with you, Sam. So
Yes.
lovely. Thank you so much for agreeing, even with all the interruptions. It doesn't matter. I don't care about that. The people that need to see you and hear about you it will get to where it's supposed to go, and hopefully a
Yes.
lot more people that don't realize that they need to see you and hear you. So if you'd like to say, oh, it's me, Chris. Do you know? So that narrows it down.
I'm trying to think. Who do I know that's Chris from
Oh, is it
Wyoming?
Chris? Is it Christine? Is it Christine Johnson from Wyoming? Maybe it's Christine. Oh, I wonder if it's Chris. I stayed at Cheyenne and it was 2018. I went out to the States, and I went to Cheyenne
Oh,
and
okay.
stayed at an Airbnb, and that might be Chris, actually. Yes. Bless her. That was a synchronicity. I mean, I'm gonna. Can I just share this funny story? Have you got time?
Yeah.
I'll share this funny story. So I was going out to the States, and then another thing, it was this dying ambition, this urge to go to the States, but that happened through meeting somebody else,
Mm.
and it was somebody that came over to help me with my horse, a lovely guy called Michael Fell, and he came over to the UK. And he was wanting to work with horses. He worked on ranches in the States, and he had an affinity with horses. And somebody met him and says, "Oh, you should come over to the UK. I could get you some work." And I was desperate to get on my horse, because I needed to get a saddle for her. But they wouldn't do a saddle fitting without me getting on my horse, obviously. And so basically, I sent this really long message, and I was going, "Please help me, please help me." And he says, "Don't you worry, and don't beat yourself up. We will sort you out, but don't worry about it." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice." And when he came to the UK and I met him, he had such a um, lovely energy about him. I mean, he came with his Stetson, and he had this amazing American accent. And I wasn't in that place to look at him thinking, oh, he's nice. I was just thinking, I need to get on my horse. I need to get on my horse. And all the other girls where I was all came to watch. And I was going, are you coming to watch? I went, yeah. So they was watching us. It was so funny. But the horses knew that he had a genuine heart.
Mm.
So he says, I don't know everything, but I have a desire to help. And he did. And he lived in the States. But through him, I had this desire to go visit. And I thought it'd be really nice if I could go visit him. And that sort of subsided. It wasn't possible. But somebody said to me, if you can't go and see this person that you're wanting to see, do you still want to go? And it was like, yeah, because actually I want to go for me.
Mm.
And as soon as I said that, the doorways opened.
Yep.
I was going for me,
Yeah.
not because of somebody else. I was going for me. And I got there, and again, same thing. I literally went by the skin of my teeth. I had a flight, I had accommodation, but everything else had to fall into place: money, car hire. And Chris was a lady that I'd booked Airbnb with. But I didn't get there till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember her saying, she said to me, do you still want to come? Because I was in Denver. She says, it's a long journey. You're coming on the Greyhound. It's late. And I says, no, I want to come. I'd booked all these accommodation, but I didn't have the car hire fell through. So I had to find another way of getting there. So I got there about 3 o'clock in the morning. And she says, your room will be at the end of the corridor and there'll be a Buddha outside. So I said, oh, okay. So she left me the key code and I got in, and it was pitch black and I was so tired. I'd been up like 24 hours. And I saw this big Buddha outside this room, and I opened the door and it was a bathroom. And I thought, well, that can't be my room because it's a bathroom. So I went down the corridor. Bearing in mind, I was thinking, I hope I don't go into their bedroom because I don't know where they are. And I found a bedroom at the end, and it was a big bedroom, double bed. I thought, this is my room. And I got into bed. And the next morning, when I turned my phone on, there was this little message from Chris saying, hi, where are you? And I said, oh, I'm in bed. She says, which bedroom are you in? I was going, well, I'm in the one down the hall. And she says, that's the wrong room. And I'd gone to the wrong room. And when I came out, obviously, she said, if you'd open the bathroom door, it joins your room. But in the UK, we don't always have those things. And so I'd gone into the wrong room, and it was so funny, bless her. But we just hit it off, and we just became friends, and her and her husband. But that was synchronicities.
Yeah.
It was meant to happen.
Yeah.
And there was lots of blunders and things on the way, but it all happened. It happened. I got to where I was supposed to go. I went to stay with another lovely lady called Rachel, who we'd never met her. And it was a friend of a friend in the UK. And he said, oh, you should go stay with them. So I messaged her and explained what I was doing. She says, no, you can come and stay with us. And I said, but you don't know me. She says, it doesn't matter. You can come and stay. And she took me for a 3-hour ride on one of horses. And I'd only just got back on my horse. So I'd gone from that to doing this out in the middle of nowhere, riding this horse. And it was like, wow, universe, what have you given me?
Yes.
Sorry, I wanted to just share that with you.
That's the best. That is how it is.
Oh, so that's who
Exactly.
Chris is. So we got another comment there. Hi, Ronnie in Sanford, New Zealand. Hi, Elizabeth. Oh, right. I'm going to have to let you go now. Bless you. I could talk for hours. Thank you, everybody, for stopping on by. I'm going to let Sam say goodbye. And actually, can you just hang on and I'll chat to you afterwards? So
Yeah, sure.
I'll just pop you out. So if you want to say bye.
Thank you, everyone that's listened. Yes, and thank you so much, Ronnie. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I could talk forever. That you can see how Warwick and I are, how that podcast just went on and on. We literally had to say we gotta stop this because we could just talk for hours. So thank you. I am really honored to have the pleasure of speaking with you, to all of your listeners, and hopefully, as you said, that the messages get to the ones who need to hear it.
Absolutely. So I'll pop you out and I'll chat with you in a second, okay? Oh, that was lovely. She's such a lovely, lovely, full of life lady, and so interesting, and definitely just scratched the surface with that one. So I'd like to have Sam back again, if she's up for that. I can see she's nodding, so she says yeah. So thank you everybody for stopping on by. Thank you for your comments, and Chris, thank you. Oh, I so hope that I get to see you soon. So hope. Yeah, it's been a fun evening. So take care. Sam's before I go, Sam's details will be at the end of this video anyway. So it's on my Facebook page and also YouTube page. So you can contact her directly and find out any further information about her courses and what she does. I hope you enjoyed this. It means a lot to myself and my guests that come on, because we truly want to just share knowledge, information. Doesn't mean that we're all right or we're wrong. It's just sharing. And that's what life's about. It's about sharing and hopefully empowering you to feel a little bit better about yourself, knowing that you can change your life. And it's not always the external. As I said, people look around and I'm the same person, but I'm not. I am so not. So have a lovely evening, lovely afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Take care, and I shall speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.